What's up, Left Hook fam? So today, Sean and I are casually going to our usual spot. We're gonna go to a parking garage and get an epic 360 pan around Sean because he's not in front of the camera enough. But a couple things we want to talk about today. We want to talk about shooting in frame rates that are gonna help you out for slow motion, and then we're gonna jump into the editing suite to show you how to use speed ramps.
Bye.
What's up, Left Hook fam? Today we just wanted to do a real short tutorial on how to improve your slow-mo game. Basically what it is a speed ramp rather than just a hard cut and changing the speed between two clips. So I'm gonna jump into the edit, show you how to do it, and we're just gonna talk about a few things later in the video on things to note prior to hitting record. So let's go to Premiere. I already have my project open here and I've imported my clip. Typically what I would do is click and drag here and Premiere will automatically recognize the settings of the clip. But because this clip is a little different than what I want my sequence settings, I'm gonna adjust that. I don't want 120 frames, I want 23.976 because essentially I want a 24 frame rate timeline because I want to slow it down to 20%, which gives you that real slow motion. See what I'm doing here? I'm bouncing the ball. But what we want to do today is talk about how you can do normal speed and then slow it down. So basically what you want to do is increase the size of your video clip right here. You can either do that by going over here, mousing over, hit Option and then scroll up or down, or you could do Command plus, minus. That's going to make your video clip bigger. When you go over here to this little effects button in the clip corner, you right click and hit time remap, and that changes the value of this line to speed rather than opacity. So that changes the value of this line to the speed. So I can increase the speed of the clip and have it speed up, or I can slow it down. And 20% is basically about as slow as I want to go. Another good stopping point is 40. So this is what the clip looks like slowed down to 40% of its original speed, which is still nice and smooth. And right there's my sweet move where I let the ball go over and hit it with my other foot. And then I don't exactly catch it, but that's okay. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna put this back to 100% speed. Scroll that back up to 100. I'm just bouncing the ball. Oh, that's a pretty cool spot. So I'm gonna zoom in on that spot. That's the part that I wanna go slow-mo. It's gonna be bouncing. And I'm gonna hit P. That's gonna turn my cursor into this pen tool, which allows me to do a keyframe. So right about after this kick, I'm gonna hit that right there. I'm gonna move forward and then keyframe. Then you're gonna zoom in. When I click on this, I can extend the section that basically when you hit a keyframe, it's kind of like there's an in and an out point. You can extend both of those, and that allows you to adjust the speed ramp. And so when I pull all the way to the left, and then this one, pull it all to the right, and then I drop the middle section here, I'm gonna go to 20%. And so I got 100% speed, and then ramp to slow-mo, boom! Make myself look good, and then back up to, oh, nope, it wasn't that good, fail, boom, boom. And that's pretty much it. This is what you do to do a speed ramp, as opposed to kind of a noob move. I don't want to like talk down to anybody who's just starting out, but I've done it, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If you're doing this and then you find the point where you want to slow down, you just clip it, and then you change the duration to 20 or 40 or whatever. That's okay, but then it just goes boom, slow motion. That's a hard cut. And it doesn't give you the dramatic effect that this one did right here. Because that allows for an actual ramp from 100 to 0, and you're seeing the speed slow down over that time. So basically that's how you do it. You kind of set like a little in and out point between the section that you want to ramp. You do it with the pen tool. You make sure you change that line value to speed, not opacity. And that's essentially it. Then you just get really creative with your shots. Now, things to remember. Before you start filming, 60 frames or more per second is going to allow enough frames in a second to where there's enough information there that when it slows down, it still looks good. Otherwise, you're going to get a ton of choppy blurriness that just doesn't look very good. Depending on the camera you have, if you have the availability or capacity to do 120 or 240, then you're golden. The higher the frame rate, the smoother the slow motion and the slower it can go. You'll just want to do the math on a timeline of 24 or 30, whether it slows down to 50%, 40%, or 20%. And there's a lot of information out there on how to do that. Today I just want to talk about the speed ramp, so I'm not going to get into that just yet. Next thing to remember is that the higher the frame rate, the higher the shutter speed's going to need to go, because the basic rule of thumb is that your shutter speed should be double your frame rate. Ideally, if your frame rate is in 24, your shutter speed should be 48. So if you're in 60, it should be 120. If you're shooting in 120, your shutter speed should be 240, etc., etc. Last thing to remember is that you're going to want to make sure that your exposure's set well. You're probably going to want to mess with your f-stop or your ISO to compensate, because the more frames that you have per second, that shutter's opening and closing so many times, less light is allowed to enter to the lens and to the sensor of your camera. So just keep in mind that your exposure will probably need to be set a little bit higher than normal, the higher your frame rate. And that's basically it, guys. That's today's tutorial on speed ramps. I hope you get out there and do some really cool stuff, and hope this helped. If it did, like it. Let me know what else you want to learn. See ya.